Pastor DSJ Benjamin, and Benjamin is a retired senior banker, and he has a 40 years ministry experience and served as principal teacher of the Apostolic Bible Institute Malaysia. Presently, he ministers as an evangelist, pastor, and a Bible teacher in the body of Christ under the caption Apostolic Faith Ministry. And so he will review the book by Joshua Tan, The Seven Unfolding Events in the Book of Revelation. Over to you, Benjamin.
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity and grace given by the committee. I indeed take it as a privilege. Now, just to say to Pastor Joshua, Shabas, for your insights of your books, which I have read and I'm continuously reading some of the headings of the eschatological views. And in fact, I would say, after reading through this book, his book, many times, in fact, I read the book almost 7 times and more, because he has a title which is eschatological in prophetic understanding and insight. Now, after going through all that 7 chapters and 47 pages, I discovered that we need to study the book together with the Bible so that we can browse through and get a biblical insight and a very good dimensional in the spiritual side of the view. Secondly, I read through his headings. All his headings are entitled eschatological. Meaning it's a biblical prophetic information, a lot of deep truth in it. You know, the subject on the rapture, the subject on the Antichrist, 7 years tribulation, the second coming of Christ. He cut the line into 2 categories. He explains a lot about the rapture, and he has not made any attempt to debate on the positional. He has his own view. He has covered that in his book with different perspective. His presentation is more to pre-trib positional of his understanding, which he says is the counsel from God himself gave to him. The writings of certain scholars have some influence on him by going through some of the pages that I went through. I also felt that Pastor Joshua is a strong believer in the pre-trib rapture positional in page 8 of his book. He also enlightened on the pre-positional view, explaining the view in a very theological terms and understanding. He also explains a lot of things on some technical package of understanding, meaning theological. Those who are in seminaries or those who are students of the prophecy or the book written, they will be able to understand that clearly. If not, for a general reader, I think it will be a difficult task because you need to study it. You really have to go through a proper text interpretation in Greek and Hebrew, so as you can magnify the thought in a biblical perspective. I also see Pastor Joshua has handled the rapture position of the saints in terms of imminency view. He also explains that. And what I'm seeing from all his views, treasured with certain knowledge. Concise overviews of the Bible prophecy, which means it's a handy book to go for fast track of understanding on certain subjects of certain theme. Even I myself, when I went through all these 7 chapters, I took every heading a book by itself, because his books are so rich with so many inflow of knowledge, understanding. But what I can see is, for a layman to understand, it will be a problem for reading. You need to keep the Bible, the book of Revelation and the book of Daniel, the book of Ezekiel. A lot of correlate prophetic books need to be addressed together. I also see that the treasury of his knowledge is very concise of a certain overviews. He didn't go deep into any chapters. I have already told him personally that he can do a second edition on that. He can, expand his theological understanding with, a ground of rules of interpretation and all that. So I felt that his books is enlightening, rich with information. I also felt that this book will be good for those who are very much interested in the book of prophecy. It is not an inspirational book, just to say, because if you read an inspirational book, you can read it in 1 hour, 2 hours. This is only 47 pages. It took me at least many hours to really go into every chapters and verses so that it is quite clear. Lastly, most hit titles of his chapters are very important prophetic issues have been open to us. Some are very much for interpretation, and